expose your inner potential.
Yeah.
Now, the inner potential does not mean when it comes to A level, all inner potential should be universal. That you have potential in bricklaying, you have potential in hunting, you have potential in bakery, you have potential. You can't have potential everywhere. But having realized where your potential lies, we want to give you that room and support to pursue it to even bigger levels. So at O level, it is general. You've been given a chance to be exposed to a variety. But at the end of the day, you cannot be everything. You cannot be a scientist at the same time good in arts, or you cannot be good in arts at the same time good in science. At A level, we are saying, pursue a line where you are best. Let your best be given chance. And this is what the challenge we are getting, that everyone thinks is very good in sciences. When it comes to sciences, everyone is there, which is very wrong. You can live a better life when you pursue arts. It is not written anywhere, even in the Bible, that if one must be successful, the way to take is science. My pain, I wouldn't mind people doing their sciences either by force or what, but I'm looking at the hidden secret, what is never revealed. There are very many students who eventually fail because they were forced to do sciences. Those who cry and along the way they cannot push any further. Those who later jump out of the boat after first term that no, I've realized the best I can do, arts. By the way, I have not seen someone running from arts to science. Those are very rare cases. The only challenge they get is that maybe they thought divinity would work, only to realize they can best do history. This takes me back to maybe the statement you sarcastically ended with, that doing history where you only taught Marie Antoinette, that is French Revolution, may not make a lot of meaning. It's very unfortunate. When we are teaching exactly what European countries went through to be where they are, we are trying to be comparative. We are only trying to borrow a leaf. That these European countries were once even in a poorer off shape than African countries, but they eventually managed to get where they are. What examples can we emulate? What can we borrow from the European countries that at one time Africa is equally built or modeled to that level? And when we are studying this history, we are only trying to practically put it in our day-to-day life. Actually, whenever I'm talking to history teachers, or even when I'm teaching it myself, I try to bring it to the practicability part of it. How do we use these concepts? If Marie Antoinette was extravagant, where did her extravagance lead the country? So what do we borrow in today's situation? That if our top leaders are extravagant, how will it eventually affect the country or the economy? And what are the likely effects? So history is only used to help us even interpret our day-to-day situations. That if this happened in France and eventually the whole country was driven into tatters, if we don't check the same here, we are likely to get into the same challenges. Not that it totally becomes useless. You just can never know where you're going unless you know where you are, and unless you exactly understand where you're coming from. So that is the whole concept of the history, that if we must predict the future, we must exactly understand the present, borrowing a leaf from the past.
Maybe also copying the president's statement. One time when there was a floating island that was almost getting into the Owen Falls Dam, after the scientists after they had stopped it from getting to the dam, the president himself said that when we were trying to get rid of this floating island, we didn't read Shakespeare. So he was now showing the need to train more engineers, more...
Well, he could have had a point that was right, perhaps the way it was phrased and maybe later perceived. You know, many people may love to communicate A and they begin incidentally with Z. But otherwise, in every discipline, there is history. Even when you go to physics and you want to improve how that screen, for example, we now have flat screens, but the whole technology is built from the other ancient screens we had. But there is somebody who began the first version and they kept on improving. And trust me, whoever improves the version borrows history of the previous version. So history does not necessarily mean the migration of the Bantu, the migration of the Luo, that is what we should exactly call history. But everything, even when it comes to social media, we reflect onto how it started, the earlier settings, By the way, even if you're to just be employed here, the first thing you need is the history of those who started this institution. What was their vision? How have they been doing things? If you must change them, if you don't have anywhere to borrow a leaf from, any past record, you just cannot move a step. That's why even when people are appointed anywhere, there is always what we call the handover ceremony. But people forget to analyze what is exactly handed over. The work that has been done, right? The challenges and all the progress, so that you pick a leaf. That is now history at play. So, and in any case, even understanding our past. So generally, I don't want to say history is bad, physics is good, biology is bad. No, I'm only looking at a child being guided to exactly do what they can manage. And we help them love what they can manage. Incidentally, at A level, we don't do what we want. We do what we can manage. That's why all those that have tried to violate this law into running, doing what they want, they have not exactly made it. You'd only be lucky to do what you want and you can even manage it. But many a times getting those two elements, you want it and you can manage it, those are few. All right? And by the way, that does not mean that whoever fails life should then resort to art subjects. In fact, when results are released, all those who were unable to get good grades, we still even have vocational subjects or vocational courses. In fact, it is of late, I'm beginning to regret that if only at Senior 4 I'd channeled into vocational subjects, because my dream was basically to become an electrical engineer. If only I'd been given chance to channel it at that level, maybe I would be a little far. So there are so many courses that can help children even become better human beings, courses that can help children even begin their own jobs, not necessarily that it has to be crammed path, HSC, then university. So in case a child didn't make it with those grades we are talking about, A, B, C, D, maybe even parents at one point need to understand what these grades exactly mean. Right now I know some have tried to interpret here and there, although with difficulty. So it should be our then mandate that every time we get a chance of speaking to parents, we do more explanation of what exactly these grades mean. But precisely A would stand in for D1 and D2, as we used to previously interpret it. Then a B would come in to mean credit 3 and 4. So you find if someone must pursue a certain subject, more so science subject, should at least be in the range of A and B, meaning that if you have managed to pass sciences at O level with a distinction, or at worst a credit 3, you can be given chance to try the same subjects at A level. Bearing in mind, A level is a little harder because you cannot bring ordinary math to principal math in A level. And by the way, painfully to mention, one can even have a distinction or an A in O level math, but that A cannot be translated or cannot handle principal math at A level. It is very possible that a child was given a lot of tuition, or rather a lot of coaching at O level, a lot of assistance here and there, real grilling and drilling to ensure that that result is seen. But now when it comes to principal math, and at times even the grading at O level is lowered, you find what you're calling an A at O level practically is a 50 or a 60. These are secrets that may never be revealed. For you, jubilate, yes, I had an A. And by the way, many parents are surprised that their children passed sciences. They are very surprised. A student has a B in chemistry, but practically the child had never even gotten a D. So they are very busy saying, yes, Jesus performed a miracle. Just because the grading was lowered to reflect that, yes, they can manage and maybe even the system can work. Now, you bring that excitement to A-level chemistry. And you find by second term, senior 5, things cannot work out. But you find it's already too late for you to cross to the other side of arts. By the way, to all even school managers and even all children out there and parents as well, we give these children basically first term or the first 3 weeks. They are always experimental weeks. You're free to insist you want to do PCM. We give you the first 3 weeks or the first term to really prove, can you manage? Results have proved that every end of first term, children are advised to cross to arts. Those who insist at times don't make it.
It
So-
took me a full term to cross from Bag to where I ended.
Actually, all those that have done sciences may have a bitter story to share. I'm not campaigning sciences. I'm only saying let's do sciences when we practically or when we truly can handle. All parents out there, let's not force children to a point of threatening them that I'm only paying your fees if you can do this. And then even when it comes to arts, we need to be very selective. Exactly what do you want to do? What do you want to become? Otherwise, we shall say arts and you find a child is speaking onto literature, art, and ain't. Then you ask yourself, exactly which course are you looking at? So I'm calling upon school managers to cause more career guidance. You find the child is speaking onto Kiswahili, art, music. Then it becomes a little tricky, and eventually the child tells you, I want to do this course. There is a time I had an argument with a child who wanted to do law, but the child was doing music somewhere, divinity and art. Another one wanted to do law but was doing sciences. Yes, I said law, and I insist is a liberal course. That whether you've done sciences or arts, you can still jump into law. But the nature of the course favors more of the arts student. And even when it comes to arts, there are particular subjects that will best prepare you for law.
Like history.
Like history, you may need divinity, you may need literature, the language there, all right? If you even do Islam, because you will find the constitution is basically modeled on the principles of the Quran and the Bible. That is the other secret. So you find there are subjects that best prepare you. When you go through the career, rather history requirements and the arguments here and there, they are best preparing a lawyer who will stand in court to defend a given cause. And you realize that most of the lawyers we have, even when they just begin speaking, you can tell that this is arts background. So there is a child who wanted to do civil engineering, but because he had excelled in in music at O level, the child insisted he had to do music at A level to prepare himself for civil engineering. But then we had to open all these booklets showing the required subjects for civil engineering. Music was not applicable. So interest versus exactly the subjects required for your intended career. So we need a lot of guidance in there. There are those who want to do medicine, but you find someone is doing PCM, but which may not necessarily be required. When you look at the subjects in there, they may not prepare the child for medicine. So let us guide our children, but we guide them in relation to their interests, their ability, and potential, and maybe even the available resources. There are subjects that will really require an extra input away from their school fees. And given the home background, you find the child may all the time be stressed. Today you're supposed to buy this, the other day bring this, and the parent is all the time stressed. Just because the nature of this subject requires some extra input, which the parent may not necessarily afford. And there are schools, by the way, I wouldn't love to decampaign, but maybe a little weaker in exactly doing the science subjects. And this child, yes, is doing that biology, but the school is still challenged here and there, and the child may not exactly hit their interest. That's why back then there are schools that were officially known for science subjects and art subjects, but today it's a little different. So that is all I can say when it comes to combinations. We cannot discuss this conclusively, but we can only call upon parents. Let's sit with our children, with especially the help of teachers. Parents should desist from this habit of, I understand my child. Yes, it is true this is your child, but if there is the other academic potential you may not exactly understand.
What if this parent is a teacher?
Yes, those are a few advantaged parents who are also in the education sector. They can comfortably follow the progress of the child. They know the challenges of the child comparatively with the educational requirements, and they can therefore guide accordingly. But not every parent is gifted that way. And it is also possible that, yes, the parent is very informed, very educated, but your knowledge about exactly the trends in the education sector was only at its best during your time you were in school. But now you're 30 years away from school. You may not exactly know the current trends and challenges. Allow the teachers who are in the practice to guide you. Otherwise, you'll say, for us, during our days, we used to do, but today it's different. There is a parent I had an argument with who was insisting the child was to do civil, I think it was still architecture. But today the requirement at university is fine art. It must be part. Because for you to be a good architecture, you must also have some art within you. It's not a question of just drawing the plan and what. So now you find universities are insisting you must have done fine art for you to take on to that. But 10 years ago, that was not a requirement. So things change here and there, and we need to continuously. And by the way, there are even new courses. And painfully to mention, there are courses that are increasingly losing market. Outdated courses, one can say. So
they termed them expired.
So things keep changing here and there, that we need to continuously guide our children. Even when the child says, I'm doing arts, take an extra step to find out, yes, you're doing arts, which combination? Yes, you're telling me this is a combination, but exactly what do you want to become? Children will come and confuse you. Me, I want to do this, accompanied with this. They are looking for a softer landing. But at the end of that day, when they begin looking for a course at university, you find almost every university is declining them, because the subjects offered may not translate into the applied for course. And you find at the end of the day, one is completely stuck. Or even one could have done sciences, but when it comes to filling job forms, that is when we see drama. One is filling totally different courses. When you open the required subjects, the whole offered combination may not help the child get there. So our simple cry out there to the parents, teachers, especially career masters, let us first take the senior files through the available courses and the required subjects, so that children can internally reorganize their combinations, knowing, yes, if this is my intended course, the required subjects are these. Otherwise, you may be doing course subjects that may not lead you to the desired goal.
Lastly, as we wind up this discussion, I want you to give your thoughts and voices, especially when it gets to parents who want to take their children for vocational education or to tertiary institutions after senior 4. And and of course some people have come out to criticize that and what, but I mean, what is your view?
It's very unfortunate that 15-20 years ago the interpretation of vocational courses or even institutions was that only those that have failed the academic path, vocational institutions were looked at as institutions that prepare failures to move on in life, which is extremely wrong. Very, very wrong. Today, most of the people we admire, by the way, are the ones that have taken vocational courses. Because one, you can have it done in the shortest possible time. By the end of the 2 years course, you have a skill acquired and you can easily begin up something. For example, let's look at plumbing. How many houses are built on average in Uganda today that have all gone waterborne systems or toilets? And each will require, even if it's just a single room, it will require a plumber. But how many have done plumbing? And people should know that plumbing is done up to almost degree and master's level, not only certificate. Yes, you can begin a certificate, and the beauty about it is that you'll straight away be enrolled into working. You can straight away begin working. By the time someone is done with vacation, the other side of A level, this person who did this shortcut is already employed or employable. Then one can always upgrade. Someone who has done electrical, for example, engineering or installation, every other day, every other built house, the next thing is electrical installation. And when it comes to tailoring, people used to think, by that way they have even changed the name a little into fashion and design. But just move, for example, even if we just move to Chiembe here, and you'll see how many tailors are employed. And you don't just bump into them that tomorrow I want my suit ready. You may need to even book 2 weeks in advance. And these are people who are now straight away employed. So vocational, by the way, is the way to go. That's why even UNEB is trying now to incorporate. There is something they're trying to bring in called DIT. that Directorate of Industrial Training, realizing that now people need an added skill. Even when you later do your university course or what, in the job world, there is what we call the 1+2 factor. The one is that qualification, which everyone can wake up to present. They have the papers. But what other extra skill do you have? Yes, we all have master's degrees. We have presented our papers. But someone who has an extra skill stands an advantage. So today we can hardly mention vacation. When your child is done with senior 6 and you're saying my child is enjoying vacation, I think you're doing them a disservice. Let them try out a course, even if it's just of 5 months or 6 months. So I 100% support children who may seem to have not excelled in O-level. By the way, even if they excelled and you find you cannot manage paying fees for A-level, it is safer to channel to vocational studies. It is not written anywhere that those who channeled to vocational are failures. History and all records show that these are people who are even excelling in life. They are quickly employed. Someone who has a skill and someone who has the degree that is theoretical cannot compete on the same platform in the job world. Yeah. So there are two possibilities. One may not have excelled. One may have excelled but may not have necessarily the fees. It is no harm. It is also part of studying, and it is even a shorter and a safer route to excellence in the job world.
Give us your closing remarks in a minute as we wind.
Oh yes, I really thank all those who spare time to follow our educative programs, and I still call upon teachers in schools, managers, head teachers, directors. Let us prepare our senior 5s to have this other academic level a success. When you find you're challenged on exactly how to address some of these issues, I still insist and we offer service. We can come, especially during this orientation week or even after, and speak to our children. We take them through the career opportunities, courses available, and possible institutions. My name, Chene Andrew. Feel free to contact me on 0776 681566. 0776 681566. Children out there, welcome to Senior 5 Advanced Level. Don't do a combination because that is what your friends are doing. Don't do a combination because that is what your elder sister did or your neighbors. Do what you can manage, bearing in mind your potential ability and what you exactly want to become in life. I wish you the very best of this academic struggle.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chene, and thank you so much to you, our viewer, who started with us and you are still with us. We want to appreciate you for being our loyal viewer. We never take you for granted, but most importantly, we are grateful that at least each time we come and spend an hour here, you learn a thing or two. Edwin Austin Mukalazi is my name. I've worked with Jonah Jal Owakabi, my producer, Muhumza in transmission, Derek on social media, Alan on graphics, and of course from the entire team, we wish you a blessed night.
Family Hour, empowering families one episode at a time. Together, we build strong, healthy